Let's now begin this bulletin by bringing you the latest from the United States, where the President Donald Trump took the world by storm yesterday by suggesting that the presidential elections scheduled in November should be delayed due to the pandemic. Trump's suggestion was based on his claims that mail-in voting will be subject to fraud and inaccuracy. The president, however, did so without offering any evidence for his claim. But now, after widespread backlash, Trump has walked back on his claims, saying that his idea was not to postpone the elections, but to ensure that the results came in time. But before we tell you more, let's listen in to what the US president said.
Election is probably a non-starter. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I just feel I don't want to delay. I want to have the election. But I also don't want to have to wait for 3 months and then find out that the ballots are all missing and the election doesn't mean anything. That's what's going to happen, Steve. That's common sense. And everyone knows it. Smart people know it. Stupid people may not know it. And some people don't want to talk about it. But they know it.
Trump backtracks on his previous suggestion, saying that his idea was not about undermining the foundation of American democracy. The US president's problems remain with the idea of mail-in voting. And this is not the first time Trump has expressed his concerns about the postal voting system in America ever since it was introduced because of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. The US president even suggested that mail-in voting would be susceptible to foreign interference, but the president's claim come with little to no evidence. The US president also maintained that the postal voting system was already proving to be catastrophic and a disaster, those are his words, and this was in areas where it was being carried out. 6 US states have been planning to hold all-mail ballot elections this November. California, Utah, Hawaii, Colorado, Oregon and Washington. These states will automatically send postal ballots to all registered voters, which then have to be sent back or dropped off on election day. Although some in-person voting is still available in certain limited circumstances. About half of these states have allowed any registered voters to vote by post on request. And critics of the postal voting argue that people could vote more than once through absentee ballots and in person. However, according to the numerous nationwide and state-level studies over the years, there is no evidence of widespread fraud in this system. And now for more details about this recent comment from the US president, our correspondent Jagriti Dave is joining us live from Washington, D.C. A very warm welcome to you, Jagriti. Now, the US president has backtracked on his suggestion to delay the upcoming elections after an array of Republicans rejected his suggestion outright. And many say that the US president has no authority to make such a move, since the Constitution only gives the power to the Congress to set voting dates. So what is the reason now for Trump's change of mind?
Well, the president, as you say, faced a lot of criticism from both sides of the political divide. The idea of delaying the election, which was posed as a question in the president's tweet, was soundly rejected by Republicans such as Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. He gave a television interview with the TV station WNKY-TV, where he said, "Never in the history of the country, through wars, depressions, and the Civil War, have we ever not had a federally scheduled election on time, and we'll find a way to do that again this November the 3rd. It's echoed by other Republicans who all reject the idea of delaying the election. He was asked this at a press briefing, this question about his tweet that he'd sent earlier on in the day. And so, as you played in that clip, the president said no, he doesn't want the election delayed, but he doesn't want a crooked election either. And he made a lot of he spoke a lot about the delays in postal in mail-in voting, and that's why he didn't want it, because he didn't want the results to be too late. But clearly he's facing criticism from Republicans at the mere mention of the idea. But also, as you say, the Constitution, the Article 2 of the Constitution, means that Congress has the power to set the date of the election, not the president. But a lot of commentators are saying that really his intention wasn't really ever about moving the date, but it was to increase the likelihood that his supporters would reject the result of the election if the eventuality happens that President Trump loses to his Democratic rival Joe Biden. That, some people say, is what the president is aiming for. And now, if you look at the polls at the moment, the president is trailing in those polls behind his Democratic rival.
Right. Now, as you pointed out, I want to ask another question on the same subject. The idea of mail-in ballots seems to be a huge problem for the US president. Why is that? And could there be a delay in elections if he continues to resist and campaign for it?
Well, the president has spoken, as you said, repeatedly about his issue with mail-in ballots, his claims, for which there is no evidence of widespread fraud when it comes to ballots of any kind, but in particular mail-in ballots as well. He has repeatedly made these comments, and people who are watching this are very much seeing this as part of the president's distraction strategies, distraction attempts, but also to try as a response to the polls which show him trailing behind Joe Biden, as an attempt to increase the likelihood of his base, priming them for refusing to accept the result of the election if he loses and if Joe Biden wins. So that, the real aim of that, what some people are suggesting, is this. Now, as I say, there is no evidence for the fraud. The claims that he makes, they're entirely unsubstantiated.
Now, former US President Barack Obama recently made some strong comments against the Trump administration, saying that those in power are doing whatever they can to discourage people from voting. So what did he really mean by that?
Well, there's suggestions that voting is so there's unfairness in terms of how voting happens. So the idea of voter suppression that happens, the accusations that are levelled in a variety of ways. So these are the sorts of things that Barack Obama is referring to. But really, it shows that things are really getting tense now in the run-up to November. The fact that the president is once again repeating these claims, we've heard him. It's really brought up amongst Democrats the concerns that the president himself may not accept the result of the election in November. A claim that he has made repeatedly. Most recently, he made it in a Fox News interview to Chris Wallace, where he said he would have to see the result, but he suggested that he might not accept the final result. So these are the sorts of things that are concerning many Democrats at the moment who are observing this. But again, a lot of people are saying that this is just talk, and this is the president sort of responding to those polls that show him trailing behind Joe Biden.
Right. My final question before we wrap up this discussion is about the COVID-19 situation in the United States. Nearly 150,000 deaths recorded recently. So how is the government's response to this outbreak being perceived in the United States?
So the president, in that press briefing today, he talked a lot about schools reopening, pushing for schools to reopen, talking about the economic recovery, the work that his government has done, working with Congress to get the stimulus packages that they have put out in the past. Currently, Congress is trying to negotiate a new package of stimulus because the enhanced unemployment benefit of $600 a week, which was passed in the previous bill, is due to run out on Friday. And so it's crunch time for the Republicans and Democrats in Congress. But there are concerns about that the coronavirus is still yet to be under control because the numbers continue to rise. Several states have recorded records single-day cases. Arizona, California, Florida, for example. Cases continue to rise. So there are serious concerns, and this comes as schools are priming themselves to reopen in a couple of weeks' time. But several schools and universities are also hosting virtual classes because they are concerned by the coronavirus pandemic. And of course, the economic brunt of this is quite serious as well. The results, the Federal Reserve has said that suggested that more stimulus fiscal policy will be needed may be needed to ensure that the recovery doesn't slow, as indications are suggesting that it might.
Right. All right, Jagriti, thank you so much for joining us and for all your insights in this new development.